Hi, everybody. I'm Branden Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting located in Central Florida, and I'm also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. We exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off the ladder. I'm excited about today's guest. I've got Jaden Robison with me. And Jaden, if you could just give a quick intro to the listeners on who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Yep. So like you said, my name's Jaden Robison. I am a foreman for a residential concrete flat work company. It's a family business. So we are just to the point right now where we're kind of, like we were talking before we started recording, where we're kind of unsure about growing, like bigger, kind of staying where we're at, splitting, adding more crews or whatever. So that's kind of where we're at. And I have a podcast called Blue Collar Future where I talk about essentially the future of blue collar work and bringing the younger generation into the trades. And then my wife and I have a website business. So we build websites for contractors. It's mainly her, but
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, there's some interesting stuff to just pick out there. So with this being a family business, who are the founders of it? How long has it been around for?
It's my dad, and then it's been around about, I think 22 years, I think right now. And then he worked for his uncle's business for about 15 plus before that. So.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm sorry, you might have said this already, but you guys are located, where at?
Utah, Ogden, Utah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Awesome. So with it being a family business, I'm assuming, did you get into the business right after high school, or did you go to college? What did that process look like for you as far as getting involved in the business?
Yeah, that's where a lot of this other stuff I'm doing besides working in concrete comes from. So my whole life I always heard, get out of the trades, go work smarter, not harder, all that type of stuff. And even my parents kind of pushed me to college because I kind of had an affinity for math and science. And so I kind of went down the engineering route, ended up studying electrical engineering, kind of got almost done with my bachelor's degree and decided I didn't really want to do that. And I had been working in concrete the whole time. And I just started to kind of look around and see and realize I didn't want to do that job for, the rest of my life. And wasn't really sure about sitting at a desk forever. And I started looking at numbers for those jobs, and it just isn't that much better pay. And there's a bunch of schooling, required. And then it's really hard to get into as well, even after that. So I just started to realize that the stories that everybody are telling about go to college aren't really true. And I had been doing concrete the whole time. I went to school full time while working full time, and I just kind of took a break from it and then never really went back. So I have a associates of pre-engineering, and I actually did a boot camp doing web development, so through another university. And that's where the websites come from. And that's the foundation of my podcast, pushing people towards the trades rather than away from them.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, when I think about anything, I truly believe that there's dignity and respect in any profession in the world, as long as it's professionalized in a way as like, okay, there's a career track. You can start at the bottom, you can work your way up, and you can do something respectable, no matter what it is. And I think what's more important than, like you said, like pushing kids to college, I think that really, I wish there was more of a push for young kids coming out of high school to seek fulfillment and purpose in their work. And to really just like enjoy it and not be about, and one of my favorite people to listen to is Gary Vee on this topic. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who he is, but he tells young people all the time, he's like, look, like, what does it matter if you like go to college and let's say you do make more money, but you're miserable and you hate your job and your career? Like, what's the point of that, Um, so why not do something that you enjoy and maybe you make a little less money, but you're happy?
Also, one thing I always thought about working in trades is like I thought everybody hated it and it was something you fell back on just because you couldn't do something else. I think that a bunch of people have that in their mind, mainly because of there's such a push to go to school that they feel like they're lesser than if they're not, using a degree to or an education necessarily to do their profession. And they almost don't even give themselves a chance to enjoy a trade. And then sometimes what ends up happening is people get in it long enough and they start to realize that they do actually enjoy working with their hands, and sitting at a desk really isn't for everybody. Even though there's such a push for college, it makes it seem like that's the only way. So that's my problem as well. Is like teach kids to try out different things instead of pushing them at 18 years old to go, shack up with a bunch of student loan debt to do something they're not even sure they're going to want to do. And how is an 18-year-old kid supposed to know what they want to do for the rest of their life? Most people don't even end up using their degree for what they went to school for. So it's an interesting world.
Yeah. I'm really thankful, like, just, when I was younger, I guess I just had this ability to kind of step back and look at my decisions, and I was like, I am not going to be happy with this, like, because I started college, and I only did a semester and a half and then I dropped out, and I just knew it wasn't for me. And of course I had everybody pushing me to do that, but I was like, this is not my thing. And I knew, like, at a really young age that I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I thought I had to go to school, like, go to college to do that. And then as I was a very curious person, so I always wanted to learn and like read books and, just kind of educate myself outside of, just getting a degree. So, I'd read about at that time, so this was like 2010, 2011. So this is back like kind of when Facebook is like really starting to take off, and, you're starting to really hear about like Mark Zuckerberg and, obviously like, I guess like what was it? The early 2000s was like kind of the introduction to Google, but then I lived through the whole like boom of Google and like technology. So all of these big tech CEOs I was reading about and studying about, I was like, they're all college dropouts, and I was like, well, so if these guys can be super successful doing something as complicated as tech, then why do I have to go to college to just be an entrepreneur and start a business one day? So that was, I dropped out, and I think too, like, people think that there's not good money in the trades. And I think really, like, when you think about it, if you can come out of, I have a kid working with me over the summer, and I'm just like thinking, I'm like, dude, if this kid works for me for the next 2 summers, and then he's fully trained, then right out of high school, I could put him into a position leading, and he could be making amazing money with no student loan debt. Like, why would you want to go to college and get, let's say 60, 80, $100,000 worth of debt only to come away with let's say you get out of college, and like, I think young kids too have this perspective of like, oh, I'm going to get out of college and the first job I'm going to get is going to be, 60, 80, $100,000. It's like, no, some people work 15, 20 years in their corporate career to get to, 75, $80,000 or more, so you might come out of college with $60,000 in debt, $80,000 in debt, making $30,000 a year, you know? So I think, like, unfortunately, I think we just do such a disservice to, like, that younger generation of not really helping them understand those things. Like, if you could come out of high school, go into the trades, have minimal debt, live below your means, you could save up money super fast and really set yourself way ahead.
Yeah. Well, so one of the problems with the whole going to college and getting a degree thing is most people go to college and they only focus on going to school and getting a degree. And that's not really appealing to any employers. If employers look at you and they see that you have only, your 4 years of school and you didn't work during that time, and it doesn't matter what grades you got, they're going to look at you and be like, well, you don't have any experience doing anything. I can't pay you any reasonable amount of money to do anything. And so that was another problem I was looking into. I mean, a lot of the engineering jobs I started to look at, because I was nearing on that stage of needing to look for internships and stuff when I was in talks with one company for an internship where they would hire me on right out of college full time as an engineer. Most of the places want you to have experience and your bachelor's degree in a starting position, which that's like almost impossible to like get into a starting position and make, I don't know, $60,000 a year. You have to have experience and a degree. The great thing about the trades is you have essentially your education and your experience is all wrapped up in one. You're learning on the job and getting paid to learn, and you're going to be working the same amount of time to end up making just as much or more by the time someone gets out of college. And the benefit is the sky's the limit just about. You can start a business if you want. You can go work and help grow another business in the trades. You can be in the union and make really good money and have really good benefits. There's a lot of options out there, and I think people just pick on the low-hanging fruit of labor positions in the trades and stuff like that aren't meant to be career positions as, oh yeah, see, you don't make a lot of money because this guy's making $20 an hour or something. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I try to, like, I think the important thing is understanding, like, with the trades, like you said, looking at those positions as entry level, the labor. Maybe you work in that position for 5, 10 years, but like I tell my guys, I hope that you don't paint the rest of your life. What I would love for you to do if you work for my company is work your way up, and as the business grows, be looking at training you up to transition into, like a project manager role, a sales role, whatever that looks like. There's other opportunities in the trades and ways that you can bring value, not necessarily just the painting itself. Understanding that there's career opportunities in the trades beyond just the labor. And so I think it's, one of my dreams, something that I'd really love to do, is, and I've talked to like some different tradespeople in my local city about doing this, but I'd really love to set up some type of assembly at our local high school, where a bunch of different business owners that are, so like have just all the different trades represented, and go put on an assembly at the local high school and, talk to, invite the high schoolers to come to this assembly, where we talk about the trades and talk about opportunities and careers and all the different things that you can do, and the benefits of it. Because I think, unfortunately, kind of like what I believe you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, is unfortunately, I think in the past it's kind of been looked at as like the trades are like this fallback plan, or it's like second rate work. It's like not your. It's like, oh, well, avoid having to do labor, avoid having to work with your hands, instead of giving it as like a viable career option for those kids that's actually a better fit for. So it's like you're taking these kids who maybe starting their own trade business, doing an apprenticeship, and then having a career at a great company is a better option for them, and here we're like pushing them to go and do something that's not the right fit for them. So I just feel like it's a disservice to them.
Yep. Well, and in the high schools, I mean, all they really do is push, what college are you going to go to? What degree are you going to get? The school counselors don't hardly have any sort of references for trades or any sort of push to trades. And the things I always heard were like kids that maybe didn't do that great in school, they would be told like, yeah, you're probably not smart enough to go to college. You should probably just go work in construction or something like that, as if it's somehow lesser than. And it's this weird stigma that construction workers are dirty, uneducated, low IQ people. Where
it's weird. It's so weird.
And I know a lot of tradesmen that are doing really well, and a lot of people that have small businesses, and a lot of owner operator, like basically out there doing the work every day with their hands, owning their own business, making a ton of money. I know more people like that than anything else. And it's businesses in general, I guess I should say too. Like anybody owning a business is going to do really well if they can figure out how to run the business. It doesn't matter what industry it's in. Especially in the trades, it's almost easier to just start a trade business than almost anything else. I mean, if you have the skill and you can find people that have the skill to work for you, and you can manage the projects. So
yeah. And I think there's different types of like smarts. Like, so I think we can take like a kid who, yeah, maybe they're not like book smart, they're not good at math, or they're not good at like a particular science, but they're really geared toward, like, they have an entrepreneurial mind. They understand marketing, they understand people, they're emotionally smart, relationally smart. They have hustle, they have work ethic, and like those are all things that maybe somebody who's really smart at like math or science or whatever it is doesn't have. It's like my wife and I are the perfect example. My wife was valedictorian of her high school class. Extremely smart. She went to college, and she was in her major. She was like top in her area of study, so she's very smart. And that's like what she thrives in. Like, she's really good at math. She's like, she's a whiz when it comes to that stuff. Me, I'm like, it's like I'm the kind of person where, we're at a restaurant, we need to leave a tip, and I'm asking her to do the math because I don't, so we're very different. But what I have is, and part of this is we also have two very different upbringings. Like, she had a lot of like stability and like grew up in the same house, parents married, or like, still are married, have been together forever. And I came from like a very broken home, parents divorced, moved around all the time, had a season in my life in high school, like, well, late middle school, into high school, where I was homeless on and off. And I've moved like over 50 times in my lifetime. And a good portion of that was before I was like 23. So I had all of these life experiences that made me like I was very resilient, because I was used to like so much struggle, growing up. I was very adaptable. So like you can put me in almost any situation and I'm going to adapt because that's what I had to do as a kid. It's like I moved so much. I went to like three different high schools in three different states my junior year of high school. Um, and so every state was different. Every like group of kids and friends were different. Each experience was different. And I had to adapt and I had to like fit into that environment that I was in. And because I wasn't like handed anything, I've had to work hard for like everything that I want, but it's also given me the drive to not want, to live the way I did as a kid. And so like, and those are all things that my wife is not like naturally inclined to because her upbringing was so much different. So those aspects of my personality and what I'm good at is what makes me good at being an entrepreneur and having a business. And so like I just feel like that's you know you can't take a kid and say like, hey, you're not smart and hey, go do the trades because you're not smart. That's like so just ridiculous. They could be an amazing business owner.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of business owners are the people that you wouldn't assume that would be smart or even are good at school. Most people that are business owners and successful entrepreneurs hated school, especially the ones that I know that are really successful. They hated school and they didn't want to be there. I actually am in the bus of being good at school and math and all that, and I kind of enjoyed it. And so people are always surprised when I ended up in the trades instead. And I can speak from that side, knowing that there's a lot of people that I was at the university with that I could tell were maybe like book smart, but were just like real life, almost you'd say on the street, I guess, just not smart people. I mean, they're very, very smart at numbers, and that's really about it. And yeah, and I like my math. I mean, I think I was actually closer to a math bachelor's degree than I was an engineering bachelor's degree because you have to take so many math classes, and I liked it, but I saw that myself also that I wasn't going to want to sit there and do that forever. I think I more liked the learning aspect because I was a curious person. So I wanted to learn things, not really knowing what these things are. And when I started devoting myself more to being in the trade, I was like, oh wow, this is actually like really, really complicated. It's an art form. I mean, it's people here are actually really smart that you work around. And it really just opened my eyes to realize that what you hear when you're growing up about them just isn't true.
Right. Yeah. That's and I think what you're saying too is that there's space for the like, the kids who are, maybe they think they want to be an engineer. Maybe they think they want to do this, but because they're pushed that direction and think that their skills are only good for, let's say corporate America or having a white collar job, they miss out on this opportunity to bring value to the trades. And they could bring so much value to the trades and also elevate, the trades and elevate whatever industry that they choose to go in by bringing their strengths into it, if that makes sense. I think that's another thing too, is like there is a opportunity for professionalization of our industries, right? So like I think of painting. um, if I had to look at, and there are some trades that I'm not necessarily super exposed to, but I will say for the ones that I am more exposed to, like HVAC and plumbing, electrical, roofing, um, I think those would be like the top ones, and then some of like these other trades I might not like. For example, what you do, I'm not as.
I mean, you'd be exposed a lot to drywall, the drywall people and stuff too, right?
I would kind of like lump drywall into the painting, but yeah, but it's like when I look at those, painting definitely is behind, as far as like the professionalization of of our industry, compared to the HVAC and plumbing, electrical, and so on, and so like we need talent to come into the painting industry and help to elevate it, and how do you do that? Like you've got to get these young kids to see like, hey, there's opportunity here, and you could bring your talents into this industry, and create a lot of great opportunity for yourself, and be a part of elevating the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's about bringing excitement back to the trades, and not just putting them down all the time. Because one of the big issues is people are so pushed to college. Like, in my case, I had math, science affinity or whatever. So they're like, oh yeah, you need to be an engineer. And I just get shoved down this path. And I was sitting there believing, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And there's so many people that do that just end up getting shuffled through. And then on the flip side of that, because nobody's getting pushed to the trades, the people that we are getting in the trades are literally people that don't have an option. So I think that this perpetuates the myth and the idea that the trades are for unskilled, low IQ people, because it's all that we can get, because everybody's being pushed away from them because they're touted as not worth it, and they're touted as like, you're going to break your body down, and you need to go work smarter, not harder, all that type of stuff. All this rhetoric that we've been hearing for the last 40, 50 years has really taken a toll on the fact that, or on the perception of the trades, to the point now where what are the statistics that we're seeing? Probably over 50% of the workforce is going to be leaving within the next 10 years. I think this has been a number that's been pushed around because there's so many older guys in the trades that are retiring, and there's no young people to replace them. I think we're seeing a shift on that a tiny bit because of social media, because of people posting about what they do, getting young kids to realize that it can be cool, and it's art, and you can make a lot of money. But we've had a large problem up until now, and it's only just now kind of coming around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. This was my first summer taking on a high schooler, to work for me for the summer. And it was awesome. Like, he loved it. He enjoyed it. His dad is actually, in the trades. He's an iron worker. And that's actually the route that he wants to go, is going into the trades, which is so cool to like hear like this young kid who's not necessarily looking at college as being his number one focus. He's looking at the potential of staying in the trades. And so I even after I just told all of my like crew leaders and everything, in our production meeting on Monday, I said, next summer, I'm going to my goal is going to be to put a high schooler on each one of your crews for the summer. And hopefully we'll be even a bigger company by the summer of next year. So, maybe we'll go from like 4 crews to 6 crews, and I'll be able to bring 6 high schoolers in, and, work on a crew for the summer and learn the trade. And, my hope is that I'll have some of them who really enjoy it, have an interest in it, and then potentially come back each summer, maybe work part-time through the school year, and then when they graduate, come on board full-time. And that's and then that what that'll do for me too is, one, it'll help me to bring in fresh new talent, but also shape them into like the best fit for our company, right? Pour our values into them, and really help them to get integrated into that, and ultimately have amazing employees because we basically like invested in them from the ground up, opposed to just looking at getting people who have been doing it for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, those people are getting harder and harder to find, though. Those people that have been doing it for 15, 20 years, like most of the time, they're in a company that's paying them well to stick around. So, I mean, finding new, fresh talent's probably the best way to go. I think at this point, we need to have a different approach than what the approach to college was all these years, where it's like people acting like it's the only plan. It's more of we need to just start opening eyes and helping people to realize that there is a choice, that they don't have to, because people that end up getting pushed to college and then fail have just a terrible outlook on their life, as if they'll never be successful. So I think like what you're doing, having kids come help over the summer, and if they like it, I mean, offering them a position where you're not really locking them into it, where they feel like they don't have another plan, but where you're giving them an option and showing them what it could be like, is really what we need to be bringing younger kids into the trades.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, like, if we professionalize our own businesses and our own industries, I think what happens too is it gets more appealing, right? So my focus too is to build a company where these young kids look at it and they see, wow, I have opportunity there. It's not just like, that's why some people would argue that some of the stuff that I have done over the years might not be needed, or I could be making more money if I didn't do some of the things that I'm doing. Like, for example, having a shop, or, buying vehicles and wrapping them and trying to make them look really professional. All of that is, yes, is it like I want to build something that everybody's like gonna see and notice and recognize, and is it part of my branding strategy? 100%. But it's also a strategy to recruit and to get like these kids to look at this company and say, oh wow, like that looks really cool, like they look really professional. It's not just some random like white van. It's like this brand, this thing that I want to be a part of. Like having a shop. I don't know if I mentioned that, but like, some people would say like, oh, like there's no need for a shop. Just like you could save money, just, operate out of your home office and save that money. It's like, well, I understand it costs me more money to have a shop, but it's a physical place where the guys can like come to, and, I can create like what that environment looks and feels like. And, when somebody comes to do an interview, they're coming to a place of business. They're sitting down and, seeing like, oh, wow, they have core values. Oh, wow, there's their mission statement. Oh, wow, look at, there's their sales performance. Wow, that's amazing. Here's their production team's performance. Like, wow, look at everything they're doing. And it creates this like feeling or environment of like, wow, this is actually like legitimate, and I want to be a part of that. Whereas like, imagine like a young kid who you're like, hey, you want to work for me for the summer? Let me interview you. on my tailgate, at some, random house on so and so street on, Saturday afternoon. Um, I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like doing some of those things helps to elevate your company, create something that people want to be a part of, and feel like they have a future, being a part of that. And so I think, if we have that perspective as business owners and as leaders in our organizations, then that's going to help to attract these kids. Because I think there's too, like, you want to feel like dignity. You want to feel like, wow, I'm a part of something that I can be proud of. I'm sure like no kid wants to feel like, wow, I'm a part of something that feels like it's not respectable or like there isn't opportunity, you know. So they want to feel like, wow, I have purpose. I have meaning in what I do. And so I think if they can come into a company that has that look and feeling, then it's going to be more attractive to them. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. I mean, that's everybody wants a brand to belong to. I mean, this is why there's so many apparel companies nowadays that are getting really big. It's the belonging to something. It's why everybody's always gravitating towards being in a group. Everybody's gravitating towards followings on social media. And this is where also social media can come into play for your business, recruiting people. Going to where all the younger people are on social media, posting about your business, showing what the brand is like. You're building something that people will be attracted to and want to be a part of.
right. Before the show, you had talked about how important you felt just working on yourself was, as far as business and all of that, and that's something that you're passionate about. How do you think that plays into this whole topic and just the trades in general, and why do you think that's important? Why are you passionate about that?
So when I was graduating from high school and starting off into working in the trades, and in between kind of when I started going to university, when I was only working full time, I kind of was falling into the habits and lifestyle of typical tradespeople, rolling by the gas station, waking up right before you need to leave for work, stopping by the gas station, getting a pack of donuts and an energy drink, really having garbage food for lunch, not drinking enough water, getting home and just kind of laying around. I mean, I was doing these habits that everybody kind of develops, and falling into that trap, and I started to feel like absolute trash. And so I started working out, and you wouldn't believe the pushback I got when I started exercising, because people were like, manual labor's too hard on you. You're not going to be able to keep that up. You're going to break yourself down. You're going to wear yourself out. And I'm like, I'm over here starting to work out, and after even just a week or two, feeling amazing, not even wanting to partake in all of the garbage, like eating the garbage gas station food and drinking all of the soda that people drink, and actually wanting to drink water and get enough water in. So I started to notice a shift in myself, even like right up front, right? Probably after the first year that I started was when I started to kind of come around to that idea. And I think the problem is people will get into the trades, and we've already kind of discussed that since people get pushed so far to college that trades are not even an option, what we are getting in the workforce is people that it was their only option, and they aren't really excited about it, and they kind of feel down on themselves. And what happens is it creates a mindset of failure, and then the habits that correspond with that is just laziness and general non-healthiness for your mental, physical, emotional health all across the board. And so what you end up with is a whole workforce of people that just literally look like they're beat down all the time. And I think that's what beats people down more than the labor. I've always thought that, still do. I've been exercising, outside of work in a manual labor job for 7 years, and I don't feel any different. If it was that big of a deal, I would be broken down too, and people still think I look like I'm 16. So there is something to this that people don't really want to think about. People don't really want to think about, oh yeah, well, you might be able to put more work into yourself. You might be able to read books. You might be able to try and wake up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time every day, and make sure you're drinking your gallon of water and getting some exercise in and doing something outside of work to better yourself. And maybe the job isn't actually going to be that hard. And this is where, and it all comes into play. This is where it touches into your mental health, because when you are very physically beat down because of your poor habits and the fact that you are out working every day and you're not fueling your body right, your mental state is just terrible. It is terrible. And then you're not working on bettering your mind and learning new things and all of that stuff. And it just is a downward spiral. And I think that's what we've been having. We don't have, you can almost say we don't have that level of professionalism where we are teaching the people in the trades to take care of themselves, to learn how to manage their life working in this job, to really just make it almost not even affect them at all. That's where all of my foundational knowledge, I guess we'll say, came from, is realizing how skewed the knowledge base is in we'll say the health aspect of working in the trades. People just want to completely ignore it, not even think about it, because it's almost as if you can't. It's almost as if they are just bad for you, and might as well just relinquish your mental and physical health for the rest of your life, because, well, I wasn't good enough to go to college, so I might as well just get beat down and die early or something. I don't even know why people are so against it, but yeah, you would not believe the pushback when I started to do that type of stuff. And still to this day, people probably don't believe that story. But I was 19, 20 when I started to really like exercise, and I had just about every single person I talked to told me that I wouldn't be able to continue with any of it. And it just blew my mind. I was like, how close-minded and limiting to yourselves are you? It is crazy.
I've experienced both sides of that in like different seasons of my life. And yeah, it's amazing the difference that working out, like, so for me, it's waking up early and working out does for me and my mental health. And so for me, I've had seasons where I've been like super disciplined with it, and I've had seasons where I'm not. I'm in a season where I'm not. And the biggest reason for that is like I had my son, and then I had my and I was like super, disciplined with it through like having one kid, and then I had a second kid, and it just like, oh my goodness, it threw me off so bad. And I'm a wake up at 4 a.m., have my morning routine, get to the gym by 5, do my hour workout and come home. And that's what I like for and really with my schedule during the day, that's the only time that I could make it work, was in that window of time. Wake up before everybody else, no distractions, and be able to just do that. And then when I had my daughter, and it's like when you're up, at late hours of the night, up in the middle of the night, I was trying to wake up at 4 a.m. and I was like dead. And then, one of the things that sucks, like, is when you get off that routine, it's hard to get back to it. So I've been working hard to try to get back to that place. And
well, what I tell people usually is to just not stop. Start and don't stop. It's
tough.
it's not a couple things on that. People think that, first of all, that when we talk about working out, they think we're saying oh yeah, you need to go crush it, lift weights, and work out 2 hours every single day. I am like a 45 minute, 3 times a week person, and nobody believes me on that either. I'm not particularly, I guess I'll say, big, but people think for some reason that I spend all of my time in the gym, and it just isn't necessary. It You can get everything you need in a few workouts a week. So the time constraint people don't want to believe, but also like the fact that you don't think you don't think you'll have enough energy for it, when in reality it gives you, yeah, it gives you more energy. Yeah, for sure. And I had one other point, but like I kept going for like, I think it was 7 years where I didn't even miss more than a week. And I had last year a crazy year. We had a baby, built a house, did all the stuff like in 1 year, and I was just wiped out. And I've been in that season right now. Actually, the last 6 months I have just been off, not working out, not doing any of it really, and it has affected everything. I feel worse every single day, and I am literally just like right now getting into the working out again, and slowly coming back in. And again, it's 3 times a week, and I feel so much better than I would have ever assumed.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like you, I like that you alluded to the fact that it's like it's not always just going to the gym, right? Like going to the gym, doing a workout, or taking some type of fitness class, whatever. Um, there's other ways like just to stay active. And so even though I haven't gone to the gym, like we still go on like family walks, around the neighborhood, or go for a bike ride with my son. I surf, so I try to use surfing to at least do some type of physical activity. And so there's other ways that I try to make sure that like I stay active, or like we'll go for a hike. And so even though I'm not hitting the gym like I would really like to in this season, I still try to create opportunities where I can at least keep my body moving and stay active. And it's just the reality. Like life does have seasons, and so you've got to try to find ways to stay active in those like more demanding seasons of life. And it's definitely challenging, but it's 100% worth it. Like I can tell the difference between a day where I get active and get out and like move around versus where like maybe all I do is like work all day, and then just want to like chill out, like the mental fatigue that can happen in that. What is the word? What do they call it when you don't move around a lot? There's a term for it, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, just being stagnant, it definitely affects your mind.
Yeah, it's like there's a couple things that happen when you start to do that. So people want to act like they can't work out after work. I'm a morning workout person as well, but this time of year we start really early, so we're usually on the job by before 6 in the morning. So it's kind of hard for me to get much of a workout in the mornings. But in the afternoons, it is still fine, and your body gets used to it. What happens when you start doing that is, especially nowadays, you spend less time, doing this, like sucked into your phone, scrolling, and that cuts out a ton of mental fatigue, because scrolling on through Instagram and on Reels and stuff, I mean, that is a super mental taxing activity that almost brings nothing of value to you, and only serves to make you feel worse about yourself. But also, keeping moving and keeping active is what we're built to do. We're not built to sit around on the couch all day, or sit down at a chair all day, which is my issue with desk jobs. We're not built for that. As people do not do well on that. People get really unhealthy and really depressed doing that type of stuff. And especially if you're working in a physical job, you don't need to go home and sit on the couch to rest. If you stay active, you'll feel way better. The days that I feel 10 out of 10 times I feel better if I go home from work and get an afternoon workout in than if I just go home and sit down on the couch and watch TV. 10 out of 10 times I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that at the end of the day, it's like there's you can make every excuse, right? Like even as I'm thinking about it, like I'm guilty of so many of these excuses. Like you bring up working out in the afternoon, and like I struggle outside of a routine, right? So like if I don't have routine, then it's harder for me to like stay consistent with something. That's why I like the mornings, but it's not to say that doing it in the afternoon isn't possible. Like the reason why I would say I don't work out in the afternoon right now is like I'm responsible in my household for picking my kids up every day. So like I got to pick my kids up, and then I have them by myself until my wife gets home. And every afternoon looks completely different. Like sometimes my 18-month-old daughter like falls asleep on the ride home, and she takes a nap from like the time that we get home until my wife gets home, a couple hours later. There's other times where she is like absolutely wild and crazy, and I'm chasing her around and like just trying to like keep track of her as well as my 5-year-old. And it's like chaos until my wife gets home. And then, once my wife gets home, then it's like, okay, what are we doing for dinner tonight? And then after dinner, it's, kids getting ready for bed. And then by that time, you're like, okay, it really is the end of the day. But, like I think to myself, okay, so my excuse is in the end of the day, having the kids. And, as I was thinking, I was like, how many parents have I seen, like whether it is on social media or something else, they're like doing body weight squats with their toddler, or, I think on Memorial Day or Veterans Day, my wife, she like made up a workout and did a workout with our kids. And I was fishing that day out on my boat. But like I got home and my wife like showed me this video, and I'm like, wow, like I feel terrible about myself. I was like, she's got like both the kids, like, my son was like doing some of the workout with her. She's like managing my 18-month-old daughter. And, but it's like, yeah, we can make excuses, or you can just get after it.
Well, that's good for the kids too, to be able to see you working out. I don't have as much of that excuse because I have a home gym, so I just can go out to the garage. My excuses are usually it's too hot or too cold out there in the garage to go out there. So that's typically what I mean. But the other day I had my 1-year-old out there with me, kind of put him in a little wagon stroller that we have and gave him some toys, and then in between sets or whatever I was doing, I'd go over and kind of play with him, and then I had a little fan that was blowing on him. And it's good for the kids to see you doing stuff like that, and it's good for them to be active if they can participate and join in on that type of stuff. And it's
What's
better.
your home gym like?
I'm sure it came from somebody that bought a bunch of stuff during COVID. I bought a whole like rack and platform with barbells and 700 pounds in weights set up for like a third of what it would have been new. I think I bought it for like $1,500 or something, and it was like an entire setup, almost anything I could need. So it's good. I don't need to go to a gym anymore, even though I kind of miss going to the gym, because I think part of that's part of the reason why I stopped working out for the little period I did, because the barrier to working out is walking out the door, as opposed to it's easier for me to jump in the vehicle and drive to the gym and go do a workout because I'm already there. Jumping in the car to drive there is easier than essentially walking
Getting out of your bed and going in your garage.
Exactly. Walking out the door, and then like I'm starting a workout immediately. There's that buffer time in the drive where you're driving there and it's like, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. And then you get there and it's like, I'm not going home now. I'm here. When you're out in the garage, you can work out for 10 minutes and then get distracted on your phone, and then all of a sudden be like, oh man, I need to go do this, or I need to, you look around your garage and start cleaning stuff up. Like I end up organizing in my garage in the middle of a workout. Like it's stuff like that. I have those types of excuses on my end, but it's still, there's ways to go about it, and it's definitely worth it. The body weight stuff, you can find plenty of things to do that are going to be really good for you that you can do with no equipment at home. So there's really no excuses.
I really don't have an excuse. My wife's in the fitness industry, so
yeah.
She I don't know if you have. I think you guys do have Orange Theory Fitness out there. Yeah, so my wife works for Orange Theory, so I don't really have an excuse. And then before that, when we were in Baltimore, she worked for Under Armour, and she was a trainer with them. But yeah, so I don't really have much of an excuse. But I asked about your gym because that's actually something we're looking at doing right now. Is we're like tossing around the idea of finding somewhere else to store my boat. That's one of the biggest problems right now. It's like I don't want to take my boat out of my garage.
Yeah.
But we're actually looking at the potential of putting a shed, like a bigger shed in our backyard, and probably running electric to it, and then turning the shed into a little gym.
That's what I would really like to do, because I think that's also another thing that's, you can kind of be disconnected from your house a little bit more. Just something about being maybe a little bit farther away from your house, so it's not just walk in the door and you're inside already. Especially when it's 100 degrees outside here and hot in the garage, and then you go inside and get hit with that nice cool air. You have a little bit of a barrier there. I think being a little bit disconnected is probably good. I've thought about that as well, but ours is just in our garage right now.
Yeah. Honestly, ours would probably be in our garage as well if it weren't for my boat. That's the only thing, is like, I keep telling, I was like, I could put the boat at the shop, but then it's going to be like around ladders and scaffolding and all of our equipment. And then I don't want to store it outside because it's in really good shape, and the Florida sun will just tear it apart. So I'm like, I really want to keep it in our garage. So yeah, we're really tossing around the idea of the shed, and so we'll see what happens with that. It's going to end up being a pretty nice little investment if we go that route. So it's
one thing.
I don't know, do you have PRX, or what kind of setup do you have? Is it just a like a lift, like a rack?
It's a squat rack.
Rack. It doesn't fold up.
No, it doesn't fold up. It actually takes up a lot of space. It's from Frey Fitness, but there's a bunch of them that look just like it. One thing I thought about is it's so expensive to buy all that equipment, and in order to get our setup and to recoup our cost. I mean, if you just go off the membership, so like memberships here, you can get a gym membership for like $20 a month. That's years of a gym membership before you'll recoup your costs if you're spending $3,000 plus on gym equipment. But it's also the convenience, not having to drive depending on where you are. There's a lot of other factors that make it worth it, and I think for us it ended up working out really well, and we liked doing it.
I was paying more than that. Like, so really? I really like group classes. So, because I like the accountability, I like the ability to go and not have to like think about what my workout's going to be. So, I went to a gym that was kind of like a cross between CrossFit and functional fitness, for a long time. And, I love that. I just show up, had a coach there to like, coach me through the class and do all the workouts and then head home. And obviously because of that type of experience, it was more expensive. Like I think I was paying like 120 or 125 a month, to go do that. And so what we're almost even considering is like, okay, well, if you take the cost of that, it essentially will like pay for itself. Um,
Yeah, I mean, you won't get the group class set up, but I think there's a lot of ways to get. I mean, one last little point on that is there's a lot of people that have a hard time sticking to it, and I think it's because they need something extra rather than like other than just going to the gym to keep you going. So I've always needed a goal that I'm chasing. So usually that's a strength goal. So I do a lot of like weighted pull-ups and weighted dips and that type of stuff that I'm like, okay, I'm going to chase, this number on it. And that's what keeps me hitting my workout every time is I want to get to, X amount of weight on, we'll say incline bench press or, flat bench, weighted pull-ups, that type of stuff. A lot of people don't really do well with that, and they like the being able to have people to go with. And that's hard though, because if you just go with one person and it's like your gym buddy, if they don't go, then you don't go. It's kind of how that goes. So it's a toss up. If you can figure out a way that you're bought in and you like it and it keeps you to go, maybe group classes are the way to go. Maybe a home gym is better for you. Some people have a hard time with doing that because of the like the excuses that we talked about earlier. It's really hard to get to work out in the gym, and which is why people will buy the gym equipment and then sell it like right away because they don't end up using it. So we saw a bunch of full sets of equipment when we were looking on our local classifieds app because people just think that it's going to be a good idea, drop all the money, and they don't use it as much as they thought. So if you can find something that'll keep you to it and keep you motivated, that's going to be like one of the most important things. And maybe it's chasing health, a feeling that you get from it. Maybe you feel better the day after, and that's what you're chasing after. Whatever it is, it'll be worth it. It's just getting over those first little bit of the comfort of starting into it.
yeah. Yeah, I think having a understanding of why you're doing it is really good. I've talked about that a lot on here in the past of like the having the why. That's obviously like such a core thing for so many of the things that we do in our lives that are hard. And like so for me, it was all like when I focusing on working out, it's family and then my mental health. Like because it's amazing the correlation between working out and your mental health. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean intentionality's been huge on my mind lately, like being intentional about what you're doing. And this is exactly it. What are you doing and why? Be intentional in everything that you do. So who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? If that's what you want, this is going to get you there for sure. And it makes it easier.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hey, I want to bring this to a close. Usually, what I do is I just give you the floor. If there's anything that any last thoughts that you'd like to leave with the listeners, or maybe something that you would have liked to share that you just didn't get to, the floor is yours, and just to share whatever you would like to.
I think I would close up with, since we've been talking about all this stuff, if you're listening to this and it seems out of reach, a lot of the things that we've talked about, like especially on like the health and fitness side, we'll just kind of focus on that for a second. Don't beat yourself up because you aren't perfect in that situation. We both have just discussed how there's seasons in life, and I'm running through a season right now where I have been taking an extended break, and for me it's been really weird. It's been really weird because I've been working out and doing all this stuff for so long, and it's honestly been hard on my mental health, almost making me feel like I'm not doing as much as I could be and should be. I'd say, like, don't beat yourself up to the point that you don't ever get back up there and get after it. Because it's there comes a time where you'll end up being able to make it work again. You just got to kind of keep moving and keep the ball rolling. It's like the same thing goes with like social media. If you're posting on social media a lot, this is something that's been on my mind. Like I've also in this same time period kind of fallen off the wagon a little bit on that. And it's really hard to get back into it, but it just takes just poking at it, prodding, continuing little steps every day. And before you know it, you'll be like full steam ahead, like into a routine. It is really a couple weeks of a pain in the butt if you can keep it going to where it almost feels like it's no effort to do any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's good. I'll just add to that. I think a really good point is like you can't let the fact that you fell off track keep you from getting back on. And I think that's the lie that we can tell ourselves is like, oh, I fell off track, and so like this is my new truth. It's like I told myself I was going to be consistent with this before, and I fell off track, and so now I'm not going to go back because obviously I'm not who I thought I was, or whatever. We can just create these lies or myths or like things in our heads, and I think that's a trap. Like you've just got to say, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, I fell down, I messed up. Let me just get back up and get back up on the horse and keep moving forward. And then I think too, like not comparing yourself to everybody else around you, right? So like, you could get on social media, you could see somebody talking about like, oh yeah, like I'm in the best shape of my life, and the key to it is like consistency and discipline and blah 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 blah. And you see that, and then you're like, dang, dude, like I was super fit, and then I wasn't, and I wasn't consistent, and now I'm gonna beat myself up, and I'm just not good enough. I'm not like that person. I'm not like them. But then little do you know, like 2 years down the road, that person could fall off track. You don't know it, but they fall off track. They put on 20 pounds, and they go through something in life, and then they're faced in the same place where they've got to decide like, hey, is that going to define me, or am I going to pick myself up and keep moving forward? And so I think it's just like, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Focus on yourself, try to be better, do the best that you can to invest in yourself, and don't expect yourself to not make mistakes or fall down. Just pick yourself up and keep moving forward and get better. So I think that's really good points and really good value for the listeners. So I appreciate the value that you brought to the listeners today. That was a really good conversation, touching on all the things about young people in the trades, and the opportunities there, and our health and wellness. So I appreciate your time, Jaden. If anybody wants to reach out to you, what would be some good ways for them to get in contact with you and maybe find your podcast and some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram at Jaden Robison, or you can go find our podcast page there, or even our concrete page as well. We have a pretty good following on there on our concrete page, and the podcast is anywhere podcasts are listened to. So Blue Collar Future, Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, if you're watching this and you've enjoyed it, if you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, comment down below, share your feedback, share it with somebody so that they can gain some value that you have. Don't keep it to yourself. And then also subscribe to the channel so that when future videos come out and other podcast episodes, you don't miss out on them. And if you're listening to this on any major podcast platform, please do me a favor and rate and review the show so that we can reach more people with this podcast. And as always, too, if you need any resources for your business, check the show notes below. I do have resources for you to help you run a better business, more efficient business that is going to give you back your time. So check the show notes. Those are all resources that'll help you get off the ladder faster. And please, I do get credit for those. So if you decide to sign up for any of those resources, I do get credit. It helps to support me, support the show. And as always, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.